And we are live. Peace, peace. Greetings to you all. It's your brother Naheem, BKA Lord Abba, aka Mr. Just the Facts. Tonight, people, we this one going to be a little controversial for some. We're going in on your favorite president tonight, Barack Obama. His commencement speech. For those of us that know, it rubbed us the wrong way. And it's almost angering when you view it in the scope of what you actually know. Because at one point in time, we all had come to love Barack Obama. We've all come to love this man, and we didn't like any of the attacks that were coming from him. If the European Americans or the people called white on his land attacked him, we called it racist. If our own peoples attacked him, we call you just hating. You just hating on another black man, right? So tonight we're gonna get into this thing, man, and I think that it is imperative that we really do some background into Barack Obama and some of his policies. So I'm gonna start here. At first, when I first heard Jesse Jackson when he was caught on the hot mic saying that he wanted to cut Obama's nuts off because he was always talking down to black people, at first I thought Jesse was hating. I ain't gonna lie, y'all. But I was slowly but surely come to realize that this man was not who he was pretending to be. You see, for us, Barack Obama was put out in front of us the same way a rapper or an entertainer is propped up in front of us as some symbol of hope for the millions of us who are still poor and suffering. And if you look at the entertainers, they do the same exact thing. If you look at the sports players, they do the same exact thing, as if all several million of us can rap, sing, or play a sport, or run a TV show like Oprah, have our own TV show. This is not realistic, but this is what they put in front of us. Brother Antonio Moore called it the decadent veil. For us called black people in America, what Barack Obama was a very shrewd, he was a very shrewd trick. In fact, he was one of the shrewdest tricks that the people called white in America had ever pulled on us. You see, progress is when you make it out of the projects, where your parents either grew up at or was forced to move there due to this country's systemic racism that boxes many of our people out, puts us in the worst position when we do have an economic downfall, and whose parents, your grandparents, had some inkling of a future in spite of all of the racism that was going on then, right? Whose wealth deteriorated because of the racism in this country. Whose parents, your great-great-parents, were sharecroppers in the early 1900s, struggling to make a better lives for themselves, literally trying to make $1 out of 15 cents. Whose parents, your great-great-great-grandparents and their parents, were slaves, working for free to help build up one of the greatest economies ever known to this world. You see, when you come from that lineage and you make it to be a president, that's progress. Not some man coming from Africa, impregnating some white woman in Kansas, having a mixed son that grew up with all of the privileges and none of the problems that we, who are ADOS, America's descendants of the institution of slavery, had to go through. You see, that's not progress. That's not progress at all. That means that brother is not one of us. Progress is not somebody coming from some other country to become the first valedictorian at some college, while this government made it so hard for us who have been in this country from the beginning, since for hundreds of years. We can't even get into college. And when we do, we are saddled down with so much debt, we can never get rid of it. On top of that, we get worthless degrees. We go for employment with these degrees and we don't get accepted. and somebody with a high school diploma or a GED of the quote unquote white race, they'll let them come in the door while you have a master's in this or a bachelor's in that, and they won't hire you. This is what we had to face. But now some people can come over from another country and just jump in our spot, jump in our position, and we are supposed to celebrate that as progress while we are still at the bottom. I want to get into some of the things that Obama could have done as president. I was watching Brother Tone's video earlier because this is how I wanted to start this show off tonight before I brought my brothers in, my fellow Be the Power team. And I think that it's only right that we start breaking down Barack Obama and the things that he failed to do and the harms that was caused by him for our people. He could have bailed out homeowners instead of the banks. You see, this was a decision that he made when he decided to bail out the same banks who had a history of discriminating against us and then engaged in the practice of predatory lending. By doing this, he chose to forsake Black America, who has almost all of its wealth tied up into their homes. And these are the very people that voted for him twice. This was an absolute travesty. People keep running with this line that Congress and the Senate hamstrung him, so he couldn't do anything. No, that's wrong. You don't get to say that, for one. And number two, the first 2 years of his presidency with the Democratic-controlled House and a Democratic-controlled Senate, he did nothing for us. Trump treats Congress as if it does not even exist. Saving banks didn't even help the middle class. That's how we get Trump in the first place. He did make a whole bunch of brand new European millionaires while our wealth began to decline under his administration. And tonight we're going to be breaking down all of this. Obama should have audited the banks. Auditing the banks would have shown that we were still being discriminated against, still being redlined, still being rejected and neglected. You cannot be for us and continue to let this happen. The more I think about the lack of what Obama did, the people who he appointed, in contrast to the people who Trump appointed, all white supremacists and a few black suck-ups, the more I get angry. Barack Obama does not get to represent us as a people. He represents the People of Color Coalition, which includes Asians, immigrants from every country and ethnic background, and the Latinos here in America. We're going to show tonight how and why they're pushing for the Latino vote, and they're just trying to forget about us. But as so long as we're here, we'll never let these people forget about us, because we're just going to get louder and louder and louder. ADOS is the reason why reparations is even being talked about amongst presidential candidates, and the conversation will never die because we'll never let it die. Remember when we protested police brutality in Baltimore? Barack Obama got up on his podium and called us thugs. See, at first I used to think that was to appease those racist European Americans, aka white people. But no, that's just who he is. To use the regular racial terms, like Sister Yvette Carnell said, Barack Obama is a white man with a black father. And we should never, ever forget that. He is not one of us. He does not come from our lineage here in the United States of America. Another thing that he could have did, right? He allowed a merger between AT&T and DirecTV and Time Warner and Charter. But he should have told them that they cannot merge without including us. There are no majority African-American owned stations. This is what the only billionaire from our stock that fights for us, which is Byron Allen, was fighting Comcast for back in during Obama's administration and last year. Where was Obama's golden black voice recently when the Supreme Court was setting to render ineffective the Voting Rights Act of 1866, one of the last pieces of legislation that actually has some force for our people? He was silent. We have no representation of us in the media. You see, I'm no street cats right now They doing good with their little web-based series. You know, they doing real good. But I've read some of their other scripts, and you'd be surprised that they could write like that. Movies that you could see on Netflix or in a movie theater or on Amazon Prime, et cetera, et cetera. Where is our movie representation in media or any of these conglomerates? We don't have that. So a lot of our ideas never come to fruition. And so the dudes that are making these web series that are strictly hood, strictly perpetuating the very gang violence and street violence that was caused by our economic positionality in the first place continues. They don't get a chance to put their talents on the screen. They just got to do what works. Is just like selling crack. You got to think. Black radio broke Motown. Black radio broke hip hop in New York City. WBLS 98.7 Kiss. And then Hot 97 came along. We broke that. It was the greedy corporatists that seen where it could go and swooped in and took it over. Obama could have put measures in place to make sure we had a seat at the table. He didn't. This dude is an elitist. He's an elitist that looks at us with the same type of disdain that the Europeans look at us. And we're going to prove that tonight. And the last thing I want to say before I open it up to my brothers is this. Why didn't Barack Obama apologize for America's role in slavery? That's the first thing you do as a black man, right? Using that term in America that becomes the president. Because if you were from the lineage, if you experienced what we experienced here on a daily basis, not the little itty bitty bits of racism that you may have experienced in a school or at a traffic stop. We are talking about systemic racism that is baked into the core of this country. Then it would be incumbent upon you. It would be your duty on day one to get up at the podium and say, the first thing that I want to do as president of the United States of America is apologize for our country's role in slavery. You see, that's the first step in acknowledging America's original sin. It's the reason why America will never be as great as it thinks that it is. Because so long as you have people like myself and the millions of us who give another accounting of this place will never be viewed as great to me until they fix what's broken with our people. They broke it and they must fix it. The only way to fix it is with reparations. Remember, Obama said, just like the rest of these races in America, when asked about reparations, that it would be better if we just invested in education. When did education alone ever work for us? It never did. Now you have people coming from other countries getting into the very colleges that most of us who are American descendants of slavery cannot get into for a myriad of reasons. This is not progress for us. If you go back and look at Ta-Nehisi Coates' interview with Obama, he gave the reason on why he didn't think, meaning Obama, reparations wouldn't pass or be popular. This man basically said that he would never fight for it. But you were the president, the first black president at that, and you could not even issue an apology for slavery, which would have at least cracked the door open for a future reparations battle. You see, Barack Obama is a problem, people. He's just not one of us. His father is from Kenya and his mother is a white woman from Kansas. Our family is rooted right here in American soil. Like Mitch McConnell said when he rejected reparations, he said, I find myself once again in the same position as President Obama. We both oppose reparations and we both are the descendants of slave owners. You don't think these politicians did their homework on the ADOS movement? Of course they did. You see, McConnell pointed out the obvious to you so-called black people, and that is Obama is one of us, meaning one of them, not one of you black people. He doesn't descend from the enslaved. He descends from the enslavers. That went over everybody's head except those who now have the eyes to see. And so now I want to open the floor and bring my brothers in. Shout out to my brothers, honest, for waiting. I didn't think my opening was gonna be that long, so pardon me. But yeah, bros, we're gonna get into the commencement speech as well. But I want y'all to give a breakdown on some of what y'all have heard so far, of what I said, or just with y'all's own intro on this particular topic, because the people need to know that Barack Obama is a problem.
Definitely. Yeah, so I guess I'll go. You really hit everything, man. Everything I was about to say, you definitely was on it. And I can only expound on whatever and the things that you have already brought forth. So when we talk about, I hear a lot. I'm gonna talk about the things that I hear, the excuses, the pitiful excuses that Black folks make up for Obama's empty administration when it comes to Black community. They say that, well, he didn't have the Congress. You already hitting the fact that during the first 2 years, he had a super majority. When you have a majority in the Senate and a majority in the House, that's called a super majority. We got nothing, right? He bailed out the banks and he didn't bail out the people. So, and not only didn't he not bail them out, he didn't even audit them. And only one person out of that whole travesty that threw the national economy into a collapse, only one person went to jail, right? So this is a major failure. He not only didn't bail us out, right, which he could have done, he could have championed, a people's agenda and say, you know what, the people suffer from what happened. We're gonna repair the people. He could have came up with a plethora of things, but he didn't. What he came up with was, let's bail the banks out, let's bail out big industry, the auto industry, let's bail out all of the fraudulent mortgage companies that caused all the damage in the first place. Let's not bust them up, which he should have did. And he didn't even audit them, right? To see the malpractice and the malfeasance and the racist business practices of these the banking industry itself. And it would have exposed the cooperation and the partnership with banking and government and how they work in concert to cripple the Black and the poor. But we focusing on ADOS tonight, right? And people say, well, Obama had to do certain things because, he he had to get that second term in. Well, okay, we didn't get nothing out of the first term, but after he secured that second term, he did a crazy 180 political posture and went into some other stuff. He told us he couldn't do nothing for us because he's not a Black president or the president of the Black people. He's the president of everybody. But then he went and did some very specific things for some very specific people. He championed, right? So you can't do group politics or group specific politics, so you say, but you become the champion of gay marriage, right? You champion that thing, right? That was a specific agenda for a specific group of people. That wasn't everybody. You're not the president of gay people. That's not what you said. You didn't say I'm not the president of gay people. I can't really speak full-throatedly on that. You championed it. You spoke on it a lot. You're not the president of immigrants or undocumented, what we used to call, I don't know how we even came up with this term during this administration, is undocumented citizens. Those used to be called illegal aliens. So now we get that, and you come up and as the champion for what the Dream Act and the so-called dreamers, stealing Dr. King and the ADOS legacy of the dream of full citizenship, point for point, stole it. We was talking about economic inclusion and accessing all of America that our parents built in full citizenship. You take that same plight and transfer it to illegal aliens and call them the dreamers and champion that. That's a stolen legacy and that's a crime. You understand? But he said he couldn't do nothing specific. All throughout his administration, we've seen the escalating of police murders. That's what they are. Murdering of innocent Black bodies, Black men specifically, unarmed, without any just cause, right? He never used his Department of Justice the way he could have. That's the presence. What we need to understand is that we have to stop looking at the president as just a man and understand that the president is an administration. He has a great deal of power. He has a lot of power. and we don't even understand how to hold the president accountable because we don't even know what the president can and can't do. We don't even know what he has access to do. He can use his position to do so many things, and he just would not do it. He signed a bill during the height of us seeing in the media and in the news Black men falling one after the other by the hands of police brutality, police abuse of force. Not only Freddie Gray, Mike Brown, we're having whole entire riots across the country, Trayvon Martin, all of these things, right? We seeing all of this stuff happen. Barack Obama don't even speak full throatedly on that. What he does is he signs a bill that protects. That's a police protection bill. Who needs the protection in this hour? Not the people doing the murdering. So, like, this is just Obama's whole administration was a slap in the face. And instead of coming up with, we got to really look at it as his two terms, right? His first term, he created an entire group of new white millionaires with his quantitative easing. So he could have created a similar agenda for the people that was injured the most. So now all of the wealth that Black folks had acquired and put in and invested into their homes was lost from 2007 to 2010, just lost because Black folks are largely a wealthless group, and most, if not all, of our wealth was tied up into our retirements and into our homes. And we lost most of that during that economic collapse of 2008. And he did nothing. He did nothing but, yay, let me create a whole new group of white millionaires. It made absolutely no sense. And because we are so into tokenism and symbolisms, and we liked what Obama looked like, we didn't demand no policy from him, right? That's a shared failure. We just were so happy to see him shoot basketball and
he sung a little Al Green.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? We so happy to see
love with
yo. That's the same way we fell for Clinton. And Clinton did nothing but destroy us. So they just gave us another Clinton again. And Obama destroyed and eviscerated almost all of the Black wealth and has expanded the racial wealth gap larger than anyone has during his time. And to prove that, before I pass it on, I just want to go to just something very important that is pointed out in the ADOS 101 website. This is something, it's a very telling piece, and it speaks to a lot, and just how Obama just really did not care nothing about us. Because look at this is really a crime. This should be looked at as a crime. So if you could share this screen whenever you get the chance, pull it up, and I'm gonna look at just this highlighted piece right here. And just look how horrible it says. Black businesses only receive 1.7% of the $23.09 billion in total SBA loans under President Obama's SBA, after having previously received 8.2% under President George W. Bush. Succeeding as an entrepreneur requires capital. So our agenda demands 15% of SBA loans to be distributed to ADOS businesses. This is something that Obama did not need a Congress to do. You can go, I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing the screen. That you didn't need, Obama did not need the Congress approval for that. He could have set that as an agenda for the SBA. He said, look, I want to see these percentages go up immediately. We're going to look into this thing, because he appoints the president of the Small Business Association. Administration. He is over that. That's a part of the president's executive authority. That's a part of his administration. HUD. He could have used HUD to address housing in a way that was going to be transformational for us. He didn't do any of that. He has so much executive power that he just took and steered in a whole total direction after pandering to us, after pandering to get the Black vote, doing all this shucking and jiving and Al Green singing and all of this stuff to try to appeal to be Black, and he don't even want to acknowledge being Black. And I'm gonna end with this. There was an interview with one of his ex-girlfriends, and she brought something very important to light. People kind of tried to hush it. It was brought up again later, but she said that Obama had told her that he never felt black and that there wasn't a black bone in his body.
Ooh.
Wasn't a black bone in his body. So how you expect to get a black policy out of a man that feels that way about his own self? That's a reflection on how he feels about us. So I'm gonna go ahead and pass it. We got some getting to some more later. We're gonna get into it.
All right, brother Josh, brother Josh.
Yeah, man. So, I mean, y'all hit a lot of the points that I came into this discussion um, wanting to address, but it's a lot to go in on. So, just building on that last point, I mean, but you ask yourself, like, why would he feel that way? And I mean, if you come from a position of privilege and lack of exposure to disadvantage in that type of community, I mean, and you didn't grow up in an environment around any so-called black folks, I mean, how would you feel that way? And I heard people say, okay, well, Obama he's not a black man with a white daddy. Excuse me, he's not he's not a man with a black daddy and a white mama. He's a man with what is it? Y'all help me. He's
not a black man with a white mother. He's a white man with a Kenyan, because that's more important. He's a black man with a Kenyan father.
And so I wanna just alter that a little bit and just say, nah, he's a Kenyan English American. He's a Kenyan English American. We don't say white. I'm not even using it. I'm breaking white down, and I'm gonna use the term English because that's what his mama's primary descent was. So, there is no ADOS in none of that, because we're talking about ADOS is a specific group. For y'all don't understand what ADOS is, American Descendants of Slavery, that is a specific ethnic group. I don't care what nobody told you. They said we're a race. So they took our race, which is an ethnic group, and they made it a race. But then they took a huge amalgamation, a huge conglomerate of a bunch of other ethnic groups that are, European ethnic groups or whatever that you would call white, and put them under the one race called white. And now they have you comparing us, a specific group, to a whole like batch of groups. So I'm not going to say that Obama was a white man with even a white man with a black daddy. I'm going to say Obama was a Kenyan English American. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. The time when it becomes something wrong with that is that Obama is a white man with Kenyan father. Yeah, I'm going to say it once again. He was a Kenyan English American. Nothing wrong with that. His mama was English American. His daddy was Kenyan. No, nothing wrong with that. The problem when it becomes something wrong with it is when you try to con us, when you lie to us, when you pander, you try to act like, because we don't know any different. Most people didn't read the books. They didn't know the background. They just see somebody that look like them, like we said before, and then they put their unconditional support. You're playing off of the history of people who went through chattel slavery, people who went through, like, I'm reading this one book right now. I tell y'all what, if y'all really want to, if you really feel like all y'all just have given us pushback talking about Obama like he's not, like he's taboo territory and he's above criticism. See, that's the problem. Y'all wouldn't let us criticize him when he was in office. Now I'm gonna be honest, I didn't even know a lot of the stuff I know now. So I wasn't even, I might have been one of y'all talking about, they just hate. Actually, that was me for a large part of time until the end of his second administration. I'm like, he ain't did nothing anyway. But I will say that part of the problem that he still is running his mouth right now, and feel like that he still has the position of authority to talk down on us, like he's a part of the group, is because like those who tried to speak up, those who tried to tell the truth because they had better perspective, we basically came for their head. We basically ended what was it, Dr. Tavis Smiley and Cornell West. I mean, they caught hell for years. And a lot of y'all still hate them. Now, I ain't commenting on Tavis Smiley because that's something else today. But you know, it has to be a situation, and I'm gonna just say, not only Obama, but moving forward, all politicians that you think may look like you have to get out of this identity politics stuff. Everybody that looked like you is not going to do politics for you. I'm sorry. A lot of times they're just plants because they know that following the Obama formula. We saw Kamala Harris, Cory Booker, they failed. Why? Because they couldn't get the black vote, because we saw right through it, because we've been through Obama. So even though we hold Obama a special place in our heart for Obama, inherently we know that that was a fraud that was perpetrated on us. We just don't want Obama, like some of us cried when Obama won the election, because we know what we thought that represented was, you know, overcoming that legacy of. And I'm telling y'all, I was getting ready to say it, I didn't get the thought fully out. But y'all that's pushing back, I want y'all to go and read some of these books. We reading one book now. We're gonna announce it as our book club, the first official Be the Power book club book. Y'all mind if I announce it?
Go ahead.
It's called The Bloody Shirt. And we can expound on what that book is about. But I'm also reading a book called From Here to Equality by Dr. Sandy Darity. And in this book, he goes into that's right. And he goes into deep history, talking about the post Civil War South and the Reconstruction, the post Reconstruction South, the Jim Crow era. And when y'all read some of these black codes, and you read like the legacy of lynching and the legacy of just sheer mass murder, Klan, I mean, they're killing elected officials, they going massacring whole families. And like when you read this type of bloodthirstiness that was going forth in the South, and you see like the effects that had and those policies had on people, and you see a guy that look like you win the president's office, like that does something to people that no matter whatever for the rest of their life, they're gonna defend that man. But
exactly,
that was based on a lie. You might feel a little different if you understood that somebody played a con on you. They were playing mind games on you. That was the social engineering program of the time for that, to get him over the hump to get in the White House. And then you look, when we say politics is personnel, you don't see the personnel that's in place that's supposed to, you know, make being a black president real and tangible for you. If you knew the truth of that, you might not have cried at that time. You might have been like, okay, cool, that's what's up. That's good imagery for my children. Now let's make sure we keep his feet to the fire for this policy. And you know, what I want to do is real quick. I know I've been talking for a little bit. I wanted to just break down one thing, and then I'm gonna pass it back, because when we talk about this word, when we talk about this, some people think it's just some type of inherent hating. I had some person called me Willie Lynch, Willie Lynch syndrome. I'm like, that only applies to like people that felt my fellow plantation workers. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Plantation people in slavery. That doesn't apply to like a white man, like, you know, that an Englishman. That doesn't apply to that. So the fact that you would even say that makes me understand that you don't even understand who Obama was. But so let me just break down to let y'all know this is not just doesn't have anything to do with it. We talking about, like, because think about it. You don't think I want Obama to do something? You don't think I wanted him to do something? You think I want to be doing this? No, I want to be on here saying, you know what? He wasn't ADOS, but he was a damn good ally. He hooked us up. He did what I would have did if I was in his country, right? If I was to be, I always, you know, tell my people this, my immigrant family. If I was to go to your country, I would be a real ally. I will be fighting whatever y'all say y'all need to fight for. I will be on the front lines fighting with y'all. Like, no doubt. So I don't understand how is it that when I come here and I'm asking for allies, you're trying to do class-based politics with everybody else and like not understand what we're saying here. So again, that doesn't have anything to do with it. Let me just break this. Let me just share my screen real quick. And I just want to read something quickly, because we're talking about policy that really happened, stuff that really happened. And this is talking about Obama's failure on the Home Affordable Modification Program, HAMP. because this was a program that was supposed to help Americans that were facing, default due to the housing crash and the stock market crash in 2008, where it says right here, he promised it would assist 3 to 4 million homeowners to modify their loans to avoid foreclosure. Almost 7 years later, this is as of 2015, less than 1 million have received ongoing assistance. Nearly 1 in 3 redefaulted after receiving inadequate modifications, and 6 million families lost their home over the same period. Now the program has ended. Now I just wanted to show you why it failed. It says HAMP's failure stemmed from its design. Rather than a cash transfer program that hands vouchers to distressed borrowers so they can lower their mortgage payments, the government gives the money to the mortgage servicing companies to encourage them to modify the loans. But while the government sets benchmarks to follow, the mortgage companies ultimately decide whether or not to offer aid. Understand how crazy that is, right? It's just give me the money. I need service it yourself. Help me out directly. Why are you gonna give it to the bank? Because then this is what happened. It said that it says, according to Special Inspector General for the Troubled Asset Relief Program, 70% of homeowners who applied for the program were turned down for a permanent modification, despite initially promising $75 billion commitment to HAMP. Though through September of 2015, the government has spent only $10.2 billion, with an additional $2 billion on related programs. Most of the spending came after the initial years when the foreclosure crisis was at its most acute. In the most damning revelations of servicer misconduct, employees at Bank of America's mortgage servicing unit testified in a class action lawsuit that they were told to lie to homeowners, deliberately misplace their documents, and deny loan modifications without explaining why. For their efforts, managers rewarded them with bonuses in the form of Target gift cards for pushing borrowers in the form of foreclosure. Now, if you don't understand, and I'm not going to go into the rest of this, but if you don't understand, oh, damn, I got to read this right here. Treasury also alleges that in recent reports that 58% of borrowers denied a HAMP modification received some alternative modification from their servicer or resolved their delinquency without noting whether that alternative made the homeowner's financial situation better or not. In other words, they just sell you more bullcrap products to get you further in a hole, not caring or knowing whether it's going to help you or not, so they can make more money. And what I wanted to, how I'm tying that into us is because if you understand what happened in the 2008 crisis, you understand that Black wealth we lost 53% of our wealth to that crisis. It never recovered. That crisis never recovered. So now all these people that are you saying that the economy grew under Trump. Yeah, but when COVID hit, all of Trump's economy wiped out. It went back down to, so really we still never recovered under 2008. Why? Because we have a lack of wealth. We have the majority of our wealth is in home ownership and 401ks before retirement, the stock market. When those two things are the major things that get hit, we don't have assets, wealth dispersed to assets other than that. So where other people have their money, like in art or boats or something other than that, our wealth gets eviscerated and it doesn't come back. So I just wanted to break that down. So this is not something where we have something personal. We don't like the brother. This ain't no Willie Lynch chip in our forehead or nothing like that. This is like, we talking about tangible stuff. So you don't get to come in and say what you say, talking down to us, Obama, and telling you didn't do nothing for us, right? So now you're telling us that we don't get to do nothing specific for us.
Wait, we gonna get into that. Let's get into that right now, and we're gonna read a portion of Obama's commencement speech. See,
before we get into that, because I think this is a good segue. Let me answer this brother's question, because we really need to unpack. I think it's going to really, I got the answer to this is going to really kind of really segue right into why this Obama speech was so bad. This brother pseudo, Charlatan True II, I don't know what type of name that is, but the brother says, what about Obama sparking the youth that limitations don't exist? especially for Black kids. Now, understand this, right? This is why that is so problematic, because it's a fraud. It's not true. Limitations don't exist for who? Uh, Men who have Kenyan fathers from a foreign country and are connected and anchored into white wealth. Yes, those limitations don't exist. Yes.
And when you
But
say, wait, real quick, when you say anchored into white wealth, people need to know that Barack Obama, if I'm not mistaken, was bequeathed $500,000 from his grandmother.
I mean, if we just look at his life, he's not anchored into the inherited disadvantage that he's supposed to be representing, that he sold himself off of being one of us, people that come from disadvantage, systemic depravity, poverty, coming from being hooked into chattel slavery. That's not his life. His story is not our story. He stole that story, dressed himself up in that story, and presented it to you as he was one of us. And we was like, yes, now our kids can do it. But your kids don't have the agency and aren't connected to what Obama had. Our kids don't have a foreign father from Kenya. Our kids don't have parents hooked into wealth that was built up by slave owners. And we don't have $500,000 that our grandparents can give to us so we can go to school. We don't get to live in Hawaii and take summer vacations and go to school without getting avalanched into debt. We don't have that. So when you say that he showed the Black youth that limitations don't exist, you are really speaking to the being hoodwinked, the hoodwinked public. You've been bamboozled. You've been a hoodwinked, led astray. And it's perfect for that comment because it's Malcolm X's birthday. You've been bamboozled, brother, and led astray. That didn't exist. And that was the trick that they wanted you to take. We took that bait. We thought that was going to be reality for us, but it's just not.
Indeed. And I hope the brother understands that, our people have been sold so many different forms of dreams. In the hood, we used to call them wolf tickets. We're like, yo, you selling wolf tickets, my man. It's like dudes that come around talking this real good and
because brother, like people don't get it, and we've done shows, and I suggest and I recommend that y'all go back and look at some of the other shows and some of the other sources that we have cited on here and recommend, because if you don't understand that he didn't suffer from redlining, he didn't come from convict leasing, covenant deeds, he didn't have to live through none of that stuff that holds us back. He didn't have to live through being locked out of America, and he gets to basically double dip with white privilege and tokenism of being, and he get to play the Black card while living off of white privilege. It doesn't make any sense to say that he was a symbol of breaking the limitations or exceeding what limitations did he have?
Fact. So, all right, look, let's get into the commencement speech. This is where we expose, and after this, I'm going to pull up some headlines as well after my brothers chime in. But this is where we get to expose Mr. Obama, right? So let's do this. Let me share my screen so that I can pull it up. Okay, where is it? And why don't I see it on? Oh, there we go. All right, so this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna run through this commencement speech of Barack Obama, because this is vital in our understanding of why we made this show, why I call them, he and his wife, the finger wagging Obamas, right? So this is from the speech. He says, second, you can't do it alone. Meaning, and Josh does a way better Barack Obama voice than I, so I'm not even going to try. It says, second, you can't do it alone. Meaningful change requires allies and common sense. Or, excuse me, meaningful change requires allies and common cause. As African Americans, we are particularly attuned to injustice. Now, remember, he's given a commencement speech. Where is he again?
Oh, he's online.
No, where's this commencement speech being given at?
Morehouse.
Morehouse. Okay, one of the HBCUs. I just couldn't remember for nothing. So he continues, as African Americans, we are particularly attuned to injustice, inequality, and struggle. But that also should make us more alive to the experiences of others who've been left out and discriminated against. And we're going to go over all of these point for point. So rather than say, what's in it for me, or what's in it for my community, and the heck with everyone else, stand up for and join up with everyone who's struggling, whether immigrants, refugees, the rural poor, the LGBT community, low-income workers of every background, women who so often are subject to their own discrimination and burdens and not getting equal pay for equal work. Look out for folks, whether they are white or black or Asian or Latino or Native American. As Fannie Lou Hamer once said, nobody's free until everybody's free. Oh, I got so many issues with that language.
My God.
And there are people that are not going to understand why I or we as ADOS and Yvette Carnell went in so hard last night. I ain't even want to do the show tonight. I was like, damn, she going there.
Franklin Brown.
Yeah, definitely. Shout out to Yvette Carnell and brother Antonio Moore. You know, they got this thing going in with the ADOS movement. Shout out to ADOS Chicago in the building. Okay, where do we start? Let's take it from the top.
Yo, like this is so out of pocket. It raises so many red flags on so many levels. First of all, right, reflecting on what we just said already about his administration. How do you get to after what we know you did for LGBT and other immigrants specifically that had nothing in it for us? How do you get to tell us stop asking for something specific and stand with everybody? You didn't tell that to LGBTQ. You didn't tell them, you know what, y'all need to stop advocating for specifics for y'all group. Just stand with everybody. You didn't tell them that. You didn't tell the so-called dreamers, you know what, Black folks got a dream too, and they had that dream before y'all got here. And they've been dreaming that while they was building this country. Let's stand with them, and everybody should stand together. You didn't tell them that. So how do you get to tell us at Morehouse? Then he's talking about pull your pants up. What is he talking about? Does he know where he's at? Do you know Morehouse is like the #1 leading business school for Black business?
He said that at this commencement speech, or was that the prior one?
This commencement speech was targeted at all HBCUs in some high schools or something like that.
No, I'm talking about when he said pull your pants up.
Oh, okay.
I think that was that at an older HBCU?
I thought that was at either that was at Howard or it was this one. I thought it was Morehouse. I'm almost sure it's at Morehouse.
This one right here was at the virtual one. He just did it to.
So it was just a commencement speech to all HBCUs. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah,
but when he was name dropping, he name dropped all them brothers that went to Morehouse. He was
crazy.
I mean, I just want to pose a scenario, right? Because I said a little bit earlier when I was talking about, you know, if I would go to your country, I would be your best ally and that kind of stuff. I would be fighting.
Mm-hmm. Because we went through the stuff.
So we get it. We get it, you know. But I'm gonna use this scenario. I'm gonna just use Kenya, right? Because I got people from Kenya, loved ones and stuff from Kenya, married into it. So if I were to go to Kenya, no, let's just say I was a person that was born there, and my mama was a British Kenyan citizen, and my daddy was a Ghanaian man who graduated from Oxford University with a law degree. And you know, he's estranged or whatever. And then I come up in Kenya as people accept me as a Kenyan. It's okay, but even though I grew up in mostly like white privileges, you know, the British privilege life there. I go to all this top schools. Matter of fact, I go to Oxford. When it's time to go to college, I go to Oxford. you know. But then I come back to Kenya because I see it's growing and stuff like that. And you know what? Let me run for president. But let's say I'm identifying as being one of the disadvantaged tribes, right? One of the disadvantaged tribes. Y'all don't know the tribes there. I'm just gonna throw out like the Swahili or the Maasai or something like that. Some of those disadvantaged tribes, like the ones you like, you know what? They really caught the worst of things. Like if you know the history of them. And then I run for president, and then I those people are the ones I'm using their story to lift me up in to make it seem like I went through something, like I come from the bottom like them. And all those people they turn out like record numbers at the polls, and they push me to the victory line. And then when I get in office, I'm gonna tell them, I'm the president of all of Kenya now. I ain't the president of my size. Or then and once I don't do nothing for them the whole time, and I get out, and they're like, we still in the bottom. We are worse off than we got when you got in there, and we put you in there. And then I'm like, when they try to build their own thing and doing politics for their own specificity and their own justice claim, then I'm gonna come come back from England on virtually, and I'm like, look, y'all need to stop with this. Stop this tribalism. You need to stop advocating for your own self. Man, I could never come back in that country. Those people probably cut my head.
This is
and you could take Kenya, you could substitute every other country for that. This America with us because he played a serious game of social engineering on us, that we allow this to happen. And I'm not before anybody say anything crazy, I'm not suggesting anybody do nothing like that. All I'm saying is, can we at least tell them to shut up?
Exactly.
Tell them to go somewhere, sit us behind down, and leave us alone and let us do what we need to do. Because you ain't do nothing. You need to leave us alone. If you're not going to help, go somewhere, sit down, and shut up.
Basically.
And that's what we're talking to our group. We're not talking to Obama. We know what Obama's there for. He's doing what he's paid to do. We're trying to get our people on code and get us to understand how the game is played and what not to support. You understand? So what Obama did in this speech is what he has did all throughout his administration. Steady invoking our heroes. This is what's so diabolical and disrespectful of Obama, talking about Fannie Lou Hamer and all through his administration, invoking King and invoking Rosa Parks and all these people who really literally bled for us in the street. People, Yvette was on, I believe, last night talking about how Fannie Lou Hamer was beaten so bad that like she had permanent damage, like vision was messed up, walked with a limp, liver damage. Like people actually, Martin Luther King and them actually took blows. The Freedom Riders lost lives. The Freedom Riders got beat. You don't get to invoke that when you don't have nobody anchored to none of that. Obama don't have, he talking to our family lineage and our legacy. And he's speaking to it like he is connected to that. You have no connection to that. Your mama wasn't doing no civil rights. Your father wasn't doing no civil rights in America. Y'all don't have no skin in that game. So we as Black folks should not allow him to get away with that. Like, hold on, wait, Obama. That's not you. You don't get to just speak so lightly on our heroes who actually bled, fought, and died for civil rights for Black folks. We created civil rights in this country, and everybody need to understand that. We got Obama's mama civil rights. He need to understand that. And you don't get to just throw our heroes out of your mouth all willy-nilly and you're not and act like you're connected to that history. You're not connected to that history. We need to understand that.
Let me Yo, this is crazy. This is crazy. All right, so he says, let me see. Let me go back. But that also should make us more alive, talk about the stuff we went through, to the experience of others who have been left out and discriminated against. So rather than say what's in it for me or what's in it for my community and the heck with everyone else, stand up for and join up with everyone who's struggling. Now, let's pause there for a minute. Byron Allen, a quote unquote black billionaire, to use that term. Y'all know I don't use the term black. It's not a term that I necessarily use, but I'll use it for the sake of its usage, right? But one of our billionaires, a brother that has shown himself to be stand up in the fight for some of our causes in whichever degree he can approach that fight from, was just battling the mega corporation Comcast in the Supreme Court. The day before, there was an issue about, I believe it was DACA, that was being heard on the Supreme Court, something dealing with immigrants. Everybody was out there. I mean, you had immigrants from all over, all type of continental African hyphen Americans that were up there. The Spanish, the LGBT, everybody was up there fighting for the rights of illegal immigrants. The very next day, if I'm not mistaken, the very next day, Byron Allen was at the Supreme Court fighting Comcast, who was trying to gut and undercut the Civil Rights Act of 1866, an act that basically told these European Americans, these white people as they're called, that y'all have to do business with them because they're citizens. Basically, if I was to sum it up in a nutshell, y'all cannot deny contracting with them, et cetera, et cetera. The LGBTQ, the continental African hyphen Americans, the women's rights people, none of these people were there. The only people that were there was ADOS, America's Descendants of Slavery. When Byron Allen came out of that courtroom, he shouted ADOS out. Why? Because we were there for us. Because we gotta be there for us. Now look at what Obama is saying. So rather than say what's in it for me or what's in it for my community and to the heck with everyone else, stand up and join with everyone who's struggling. Well, where was they when we were fighting against this mega corporation that the Trump Justice Department? I want y'all to peep this, family. Comcast is doing battle with Donald Trump right now. It's a Game of Thrones, right? These rich people, the political and corporate theater that many of us, we're just not on that chessboard at all, maybe except a few pawns. MSNBC airs pieces going at Trump incessantly over and over and over and over again. But when this case was about to be heard in the Supreme Court, the Justice Department wrote, I believe it was an amicus brief for Comcast. Why would the Justice Department write something for a company, number one, that's going against it? They're fighting against this company. It's a public battle. It shows you that when it comes to us, these people will gather themselves, no matter what their fight is with each other, to keep us down. So when Obama says, and let me read this one more time before my brothers come back, I gotta read it. We as African Americans are particularly attuned to injustice, inequality, and struggle. But that should also make us more alive to the experiences of others who've been left out and discriminated against. So rather than say what's in it for me or what's in it for my community and to heck with everyone else, stand up for and join with everyone who's struggling, whether immigrants, refugees, the rural poor, meaning white people, the LGBT community, low-income workers of every background. Where are these people at? Where are they in our fight and in our struggle that you're asking us to stand up for them and nobody is standing up for us? This is why, like my bro said, we're telling Barack Obama to shut up. You don't speak for us at all.
And this is something we got to understand too, right? We got to understand the difference between being on code politically and then understanding people's personal stuff. I'm seeing some comments and just letting me really know how people are just off the mark. Look, what I'm concerned with when it comes to Byron Allen is not his personal life, it's his politics. When Byron Allen starts talking politics, it's very much on code. Okay. And it's consistently been that way. If you go and you look through his catalog and you go through and look through his political positions, it's been very, very pro ADOS, very pro black. All right. So I'm concerned with Byron Allen's politics. I'm not concerned with his wife. I'm not concerned if he likes men. I'm not concerned with none of that. I'm concerned with his politics, and that's what you should be concerned with. Because unless you're trying to date Byron Allen, that should not be your concern. We need to stay focused and be mature when we talk about collective uplift. Personal business don't have nothing to do with collective uplift. If Byron Allen is out there out of pocket with his politics, we gonna pull this. We gonna get on him too. Nobody is exempt. So what we trying to do is expose the tropes. And Barack Obama was nothing but a political trope. He's no different than Puffy, Jay-Z in the entertainment industry. He's just in politics. He is the political Puffy, the political Jay-Z. He represents the same thing. He's trying to put out a false representation and want black folks to look at black success through these individuals that were selected and have unique circumstances that nobody really can duplicate, and say they made it, you can. They are the success stories for Black America, but they don't represent Black America though. You understand what I'm saying? So Barack Obama is a political trope. He does not represent Black America in any sense or stretch of the imagination. And you have to understand that and deal with that. He didn't live a black life. He didn't do black politics, and he doesn't have black concerns or understand black concerns. So that's just it. We have to understand that.
Yeah. You know, I'm just in these comments a little bit, and but I this thing.
Who is black? To get on this, answer this question for me, Josh. Answer this for pseudo. Who is Black America?
Who is Black America?
Yeah, that's what he wants to know.
Who asked that question?
Black America is ADOS. The people
talk to him.
Like, because see, this is what we got to understand. Before you get to, I think we talked about this numerous times. When you look at the 1960 census, the people who were here that were considered black that were not ADOS was less than 1%. So we were 99 point whatever % of the people that were here. After that, and largely after in the 80s, that changed. I think we're like 10%. So like when you're saying Black America, like every other group talks about them, they don't consider themselves black folks. They only consider themselves black folks in the context of America, and when we're talking to them, and when they're talking to us, when they're talking amongst themselves, whether it's intra-group or between different black groups, they talk about themselves as whatever their ethnicity is, whether that be a specific tribe within a specific country in Africa, or whether that be a specific island or a specific group on that island. So black is race, and ethnicity is something different. But what we got to understand is when we say what is Black America, okay, you want to include all the groups that come from Africa, that's fine. But the majority of what the context of Black America is surrounded and locked in by what we're talking about, those who descend from slavery, because that's what all the politics is built off of. It's not built off of anything other than that. And if anybody tries to make anything other than that, then they're trying to use us. They're trying to use us. So black is the race. Understand that. That's we have a race is an artificial construct. And underneath the race, you have a bunch of groups, a bunch of ethnicities. So like we're saying that we're a specific ethnicity. ADOS is a specific ethnicity. So we need to, I don't even like, that's why we don't really use the term black. We only use it because most people are not familiar with using the term ADOS. But when we talk about Black America, we talk about ADOS, because that's what everything is. I don't consider you a troll. I mean, there's a lot of people here that don't understand. And, it's people that have been propagating their beliefs.
Somebody else called him a troll.
Yeah, somebody called him a troll.
Yeah. I just want to tell you, I don't look at you as a troll. I just look, like people come into this conversation at various levels of understanding or various levels of curiosity. And you talked to us a year ago, 2 years ago, we would be fiercely defending against, we probably would have been going at ADOS people because we didn't have a lack of understanding. But it takes
Absolutely.
a bit of humility. It takes a little bit of like keeping score to see who's who. Man, they got this one right. They got this one. They call it this. Their perspective was on point against this. So after a while, you just got to admit that we on point. You got to admit that the talking points are right and exact. You got to admit when you go and look up the history, it lines up. You got, like, I'm gonna tell y'all, we've been talking about Democratic down ballot. We've been talking about no reparations, no vote, or no black agenda, no vote. You better bring the black agenda to the table for a long time. For a long time. Now you see Diddy came on board recently and made this statement. We've been saying that. We've been talking about the lie, the decadent veil, and all this kind of stuff. How black folks been locked out of wealth. Then you see Diddy when the Byron Allen case, when he said, "Yeah, they locked me out too." Y'all. I hope y'all paying attention because in the political groups that I'm a part of, I'm starting to see the same people who was ready to kick me out of the group, who was banging on me, jumping on me, talking about, that's crazy and all this kind of stuff. Those same people are now saying, yeah, the black folks, we're not gonna give our vote away for nothing. Those same
Mm-hmm.
So I understand it takes a while. It's gonna take some time. Just like this message, we need to have like thousands of people on these type of lives. We need to have thousands of more people interested. So where we at? Y'all gonna look at this video. Some of y'all gonna see this video a month, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years from now. Like, damn, man, I wish we would have. We was on. Them brothers were on point at that time. We'd have been on point then. I wish we wouldn't have gave them so much hell. You could be feeling guilty. I'm just telling you that's what it is.
I'm about to pull your screen up.
I'm sure it'll come back to me, but y'all go ahead, bro. Y'all go take it away.
Let's look at some things, right? We talking about black, right? We got to understand this. That's a serious question, and we want you to understand what is black and what has black been made out to be. When we're talking about what is Black America is ADOS. Black America is people who don't have no choice to be anything else but that. So you don't get, so anyone who can say, oh, I'm Haitian and black, you're not Black America. You Haitian America. You understand that? Anyone who can say, oh, I'm Caribbean and black, if you can be and black, you're not Black America. You're using Black America to get civil rights in America and access the American dream. Let's be real about that. Y'all not black when y'all go home, y'all Haitian. Lupita Nyong'o from, where's she from, Kenya? She from somewhere over in Africa. She said she never even saw herself as black or had an idea of what this black identity was till she came to America. So you got to understand, when we talk about black folks, you didn't hear no one else in the world talking about, say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud, but us over here. That's ADOS we talking about. We talk about Black America and a black agenda. We are not talking about Puerto Ricans like Fat Joe who say we black too. I'm not talking about you, Fat Joe. I'm talking about people like me, Josh, Lord Abba, people who are descendants of American chattel slavery, who have been cut off from any other access to foreignness. We've been cut off from that. If you can go to another country and identify family members, we're not this. Our lineage is not the same. We can't do that. If you're ADOS, you can't. We've been cut off from that. We can't go anywhere else. And I wanted to get into some of the raw data on y'all start. See, y'all don't want to become black. Y'all just want to use blackness to get some sort of cultural clout and try to like access some of the civil rights that blackness created. But if we start talking about being black, y'all don't want to be that. Y'all look down when the immigrants and other people come over here. They look down on blackness while using it at the same time. And we can talk about it. I got a screen that I want to share, and we do data over here on this side. So we're not just talking, right? We're not guessing about anything. We follow the information. Before 1965, wow, that's a very convenient year, right? Before 1965, black people of foreign birth residing in the United States were nearly invisible. According to the 1960 census, their percentage of the population was to the right of a decimal point. Importantly, this pre-1965 group of black immigrants mostly originated from the Caribbean and as such would have their own reparations for American, their own particular claims to make against European nations for the harms they suffered based on the slavery institution within their Caribbean country of origin. Reparations for American chattel slavery would exclude Black immigrant populations that voluntarily migrated to America. That's another thing that separates us. We didn't get to volunteer to come over here, right? We was forced to be here, forced to work here. When we got here, we was forced to work without compensation, forced to build America. That's the real Blackness. That's the foundational Blackness we talking about. Since 1980, have undergone an unprecedentedly sharp expansion, increasing from 816,000 in 1980 to 4.2 million as of 2016. After deducting for these foreign-born Blacks and their offspring conceding about 2%, it doesn't descend from American child slavery. The recipient group shrinks substantially. So all this is to say, like, you don't get to come here after 1980, after we done ate all of that Jim Crow for you, after we done ate all of that convict leasing for you, after we done ate all the vagrancy laws, after we done ate all of this domestic terrorism and 85 years of lynching, after we done ate all of that oppression for you, you don't get to come over here and say, oh yeah, we Black too, and we just like y'all. Because the fact of the matter is you're not. That's just not true. And then you don't get to come over here and then you become the number one or the primary beneficiaries to everything that we fought for, and then tell us we need to work harder. And that's what they do.
Let me say real quick, I don't think a lot of people understand that. I like to call it plugging into whiteness. When you come here to America, there's a standard. No, there's two standards. And whiteness represents one standard and Blackness represents another standard. And there are people that come here and they're automatically trying to plug into the white standard. In the Moorish teachings, and I always give honors, the highest of honors, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, he teaches us that white means purity, purity means God, and God means the ruler of the land, right? So you have a people that come over here, no matter what their ethnicity is, that want to plug into that because that represents the American dream. When Martin Luther King Jr. gave the speech about the two Americas, that one America, that high standard of living, that white America is what we all want. Even those of us that are at the low end spectrum of America, Black America, right? What happens is they get swept up into the psychology of what whiteness is. And whiteness is automatically opposed to Black naturally. In the grayscale, you'll see extreme Black is at one end and extreme white is at the other end. It was designed to create racial consciousness in the first place. And so whether you look like us, whether you're Nigerian, Liberian, Jamaican, Haitian, St. Lucian, et cetera, a lot of the times our people from those places come over here and they do not know that they're plugging into whiteness in the sense that they look down on us. And this is why this show is so necessary, because we have to have an understanding of this fact that Obama is one of those people. Barack Obama is one of those people. He's plugged into this whiteness. I mean, he's white, really. He's just a dark-skinned white man, if I could use those pseudo terms. My brother Ali Bey is in the building. He came on a little late. Want to give a shout out to my brother. Jump in real quick, bro, and add your.
Oh wow, I missed a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know where y'all at.
We moved past the commencement speech. I gave a little opening, so we were able to build on that a little bit, and then we got into the commencement speech about, it should be this all-inclusive POC thing, people of color, and now we're just basically having a general conversation about all of it, really, just
right.
about ADOSness. Let
me share something, because I think we brought this up before on one of the conversations we had on here before, but let me just hold on 1 second. I want to share something real quick. It was an interview in the Atlantic that Barack Obama did with Ta-Nehisi Coates. The title of this particular article is called "Better is Good." Better is good. Can you see it?
Yeah, it's up.
All right, so this particular piece, right, of this conversation, they're talking about reparations. And I often bring this up when I talk to people about Barack Obama and how I feel about him in terms of the positions that he takes against African Americans or ADOS people. And I point to this interview often because his position on reparations, to me, being a person who's anti-reparations, to me tells me that he's anti-justice, because to me, reparations is justice for our people. And to say that you're anti-reparations, to me, is to say that you're anti-justice. So this is what he told Ta-Nehisi Coates with regard to reparations. This is a part of a larger conversation they were having, but this is important. So I'm going to read this, right? It says, so the bottom, this is Barack telling Ta-Nehisi Coates what he feels here. So the bottom line is that it's hard to find a model in which you can practically administer and sustain political support for those kinds of efforts. And what makes America complicated as well is the degree to which this is not just a black-white society, and it's becoming less so every year. So how do Latinos feel if there's a big investment just in the African-American community and they're looking around and saying, we're poor as well? What kind of help are we getting? Or Asian Americans who say, look, I'm a first-generation immigrant, and clearly I didn't have anything to do with what was taking place, talking about slavery. So in other words, based on that and the stuff that he said in that commencement speech, he's going to always come up with reasons to go against ADOS people, or to try to have you put your issues on the back burner, worrying about what other people feel or their position in this country, even though they may be Johnny-come-latelys or whatever the case is. He always is going to find some reason to tell us that we need to put our things on the back burner, put our interests behind everybody else's, to continue to be the stepping stool for other people to come here, step on, and come up on. Right. Meanwhile, they turn around and look back at us and start talking about how we're lazy, with this, with that, and so forth. And he's good with that. These people are good with that. So he, to me, is anti-justice. And if you're anti-justice, I don't do anything else worse than that.
Excellent term.
Yeah, and
that's
again,
my position on Barack Obama.
I just thought about it. Well, first I want to say two things. Some people are going to watch this and they're going to say, well, you know, what you're doing is irresponsible at this time, because I heard this already, because this is the presidential climate, and you're going to influence people to not like the Democratic Party, and you're going to influence people to want to vote for Trump. I will say that's not my problem.
Not my problem.
My problem is that we got the bottom 50 to 60% of black folks combined is not even worth $1/4. We're worth negative $100-some billion.
Yo, Josh, hold on. I want you to come back. I gotta say this real quick. I put in for my stimulus money. They said I was going to get it on April 29th. I got a letter in the mail 2 days ago saying that my stimulus check was going to my child support arrears. And I'm not ashamed to put that out there. It's a part of ADOS life. And I'm like, we're in an emergency right now. Who cares about that? The Congressional Black Caucus, the people that thinks like Obama, Nancy Pelosi, they had to negotiate this. Somebody had to say, well, what about the people who owe child support or back taxes with the IRS, et cetera, et cetera? And then the Democratic side had to agree when the Republicans said, we don't care about that. We don't care. Either you're going to take it like this or not. So where's everybody else in that in that cause for us, because these things disproportionately hurt us. And I just wanted to put that out there because it's crazy. Go ahead, Brother George.
Does anybody know the statistics on delinquent child support based on race? I don't even have to
I
look.
do.
I don't need much of. Okay, well, if you got that, please bring that up. We can share that next. But you know, we don't even have to be rocket scientists to figure out that if you're a group that the 50 to 60% of your population combined is worth zero wealth. The median income of the whole group is worth what, 35,000 or something like that. And it costs way more than that to live in the richest country in America. I mean, richest country in the world. We already know that chances are we're going to be, a lot of people are going to be delinquent. We're going to have a more higher delinquent rate when it comes to that system. And then another thing you think about, like people, maybe this is like not having to be able to pay your rent is the difference between being on the street and being more exposed to COVID, or being not having something to eat, or all these different things that you need to survive. And that money, a lot of times the people, you know, may be paying child support, their children may already be getting some type of assistance. So if that's the case, it kind of balances out and the state eats the money. But I wanted to say one more thing too. And that is, I was listening to a show, I can't remember the name of it, but this one brother, that's the first time I listened to him. He doesn't have a big show, you know. I just was checking him out. And it was a guy on there that I think used to be in DC politics. He was saying some good, he said, it's funny because he was going against he was kind of saying, well, you know, it's irresponsible what Diddy said and all this kind of stuff. And I just listened to him. And before the end of the show, the other guy was kind of saying what we're saying. Before the end of the show, the guy was like, you know what, I just got to agree with you. And what he was saying, he was giving an example about y'all Ali or anybody, y'all may remember this, you know, black politician, quote unquote, of the 1930s or 40s, who he was working with FDR to try to get something for us in the New Deal. And what he told the dude is like, I want to do it, but politically, I'm going to catch hell. So you have to create the environment where I have to do it. Like, you have to make me do it. So I think that is kind of like when you're telling us that we can't advocate for ourselves, you're saying that you're taking away our ability to create the environment where politically Joe Biden or whoever it is will have to be like, you know what, for me to win, I have to give them something. That's what this is about. Like, it's a political chess game. Like, when I'm playing chess against somebody and they beat me, I don't want to cut their head off. Nothing. A good game, you won. I have to make them quit. I have to make make them, you know, they're not just going to let me win the game. I have to make them lose. So I feel like if we're not given the space to advocate for ourselves, we're not given the fair chance to put the person on this side who may even want to do it, but they may not want to do it.
Same exact thing.
And they may not want to lose. We can't even put them in a position where we force a checkmate, right? Or we force a check for them to have to make some adjustments. I want to say that. And one last thing, on the note of when people ask, like, what is Black America? Let me just real quick. Let me just say this real quick. We did this a few shows ago, and we're gonna keep pushing this until y'all understand it. What they're saying is we're not a people. Notice it says by race. It says Black or African American, median household income. This is 2017. Okay, 40,000, the lowest any group. Now you notice that, you know, these are all these other people of color. Now, Indian America, is that people of color? Taiwanese, all these are people of color. Quote unquote minorities. But all of these are also ethnicities. You know, they have a unique ancestry, a unique group. And you can go down all of these, including some quote unquote Black ones. But you notice they don't have us on here. We're not mentioned on here at all. We're not mentioned on here. So what they're saying is we don't have a people. I would say that is a damn lie. That is a damn lie. It's just the fact that they don't want us to understand that we have a unique people. Because then all this other stuff, that games and cons and stuff like that, you're gonna find out you got elitist drain. like some people, sometimes if you have a bank account, you have some money or something, you don't pay attention to your account till, let's say, you lose your job. Then you start going in your account, man, what? This joint been hitting for every month for $5. It's been hitting for $3. It's hitting for $7. You pull all the little leeches off your account. And I'm not trying to say nothing about any other group from that standpoint. I'm just trying to say that, like, we have to be able to, like, take care of ourselves. So, I mean, we gotta have the right to be a people. I'm sorry.
Indeed. You wanted to pull something up? Where
No,
else
I'm
did
not.
Ali Bey come in after him?
Yeah, I'm not going to pull nothing up. What I do want to say, we speaking to different problems, right? And in order to really combat what's going on, which is really with being the black voting population is being traded out for what is going to be the new X factor for the Democrats, okay? Which is this Hispanic Latin coalition. Because if you look at the data and you'll see the percentages of eligible voters, you'll know from doing the math, doing the data from 2016, the last presidential election, and then projecting to 2020, that Hispanic group is on track to be now the quote unquote largest minority voting bloc. What we have to do is understand this. Out of the 40 million some odd black folks in America, it's about 12.5% of that population that's eligible to vote, right? So that's only 5 million. We have to up those numbers. We need to be pushing voter registration along with voter education and be moving at a local, state, and then a national level. Like, and what the real problematic part is, we've stayed at 2.5%. That has not grown. That has been that way for quite some time. We keep it about, if you go do the research, we keep it at about 12.5. We had a big increase. It was about 10 something. And then we had a big push to in 2008 when Obama came. There was a lot of new voters who participated for the first time. A lot of people came in, and that took us up to about 12.5%. And we've stayed there. We've stayed there since 2008. And so now they seen how the Hispanic coalition has been growing every year. So they like, listen, this is going to be the make or break group. So you see everybody's like, that's all it's about. They're trading us off to the next X factor because they know they cannot beat the conservative. The Democrats cannot beat Republicans without that X factor, without that's what they call that minority coalition to swing the vote their way. They just can't do it because America is dominated by white folks. You understand? So they need to have some type of hold on the majority, and that's what they do. So and we get caught in the middle, playing a political monkey in the middle with the dissatisfied Democrats getting sucked into the trick of the Republicans saying, oh, they don't want to do that for you. There's space over here for you, but you still don't get nothing anyway. Right? So their whole design and goal is to just destabilize that X factor for the Democrats. They don't really care about us, and they have no agenda for us. They just want to appeal to you just a little bit, just enough to split that voting block up, to really put a nail in the coffin for the Democrats' chance to beat them, because they know this is a numbers game, this is a percentage game, and if they can mess with your numbers and your percentage, they out-strategize you. So we need to be politically mature enough to understand what we need to do for our own selves, and then try to harness those numbers and understand we need to boost them up in a very real way and direct them like we need to.
Definitely. Before you come in, Ali, I just want to stress this point that we are a unique tribe here in America, right? We are not against anybody from any other nation. We are just pro us at this point because we've been at the bottom in this country for so long. And in our tribe, we have inter-tribes. Like me and my brother, Ali Bey, we're from New York City. My brother Josh is from the DMV area. My brother Ware L is from Chicago. And, you know, we have our own little ADOS tribal groups within this nation. And we have our own little debates. Like, you know, Chicago has the second best pizza after
Pizza,
New York
right.
City.
Right. That's
You know what I'm saying?
the truth.
Yeah, ain't that the truth, Ali? You know, Chicago pizza is all right. I think I tasted it before. I ain't sure. It's all right. I'm just saying. But you know, we got our own little thing over here. Look at where we got our own little thing over here in America as well. And it's something that we need to be proud of. And we gotta pull it together as a tribe, as a group of people. Like we gotta do it. So when my brother Where L speaks about a political and voting education and advocacy and voter registration, etc., like this is something that's incumbent upon it. I know I was asked to work on 2 campaigns before the coronavirus hit. So I'm like, all right, great. I had just got fired from my job in March. I was like, this is a perfect time. But then the coronavirus hit. So, you know, this thing kind of slowed us up. But in a way, we got more people listening to us from the neighborhoods where we grew up at, and it's giving them a window into the political thinking somewhat, to the fact that, well, they might not get a full education. They understand that brothers like us who come from where they come from will say, yo, I just need you to just go vote. Like I can't ask you to just change your life around overnight, but if you could go in that community center or in that library and just go cast these votes for these particular candidates who are going to look out for us, that's all I need you to do, fam. Like once we do that all over the United States of America, and we will, then we become successful. Go ahead, brother Ali.
So I posted a link of this show in this group called the Black Nation. And one of the administrators commented on the link and he says, these nignogs never get tired of attacking Obama. And you wonder why we can't have nice things. So I said to him, we're live right now. You want to come on? He hasn't responded.
They never do.
Nope.
But this is something I wanted to say, right? Somebody brought up the census and don't trust the information. And numbers are relative, right? But this is what you can do and how you can be involved in the numbers and understand them better. For speaking from a political standpoint, when I was a precinct committeeman in Springfield, Illinois, right? When I was elected to office, there was only 48 registered voters in my precinct, right? In my first term as precinct committeeman, I boosted that up to 107, right? I know that seems relatively insignificant, but these are huge improvements for a small area, right? You take it in your first year. In my first year as precinct committeeman, I took the registered voters from 48 to 107 in my precinct. That's what anyone can do to play their part, right? Get involved and see how you can help increase voter education, voter awareness, and register people to vote. That is a powerful, powerful thing. You don't even understand that right there is political action. When people see all of these newly registered voters and they see that puts the city on notice. They're like, whoa. First of all, they want to know who's registering all these people to vote and who they're going to vote for. That's like having new toys out in the market and people going to know, well, how can I buy that? How can I get that? You're introducing new currency into the political market, right? So we need to be there. There should not be people that are not registered to vote who are eligible to vote in our communities. We should not allow that to happen. We don't have enough people to be walking around not registered to vote. Do we dominate city politics? No, we don't. So why are we not registering everyone that we can until we do dominate our city's politics? Do we dominate our state's politics? No, we don't, because we don't have no ADOS governors. So we can't say that we dominate. We don't have what we need to have. We don't have enough attorney generals. We don't have enough governors. We don't have enough comptrollers. We don't have enough. And we're suffering from not enoughness. And that's all stemming from we don't have enough eligible voters. We need to start attacking that at the very lowest level.
Facts.
Yeah. I'm just over here in the comments. You know how these Moors be.
Wait, hold on. I mean, I want Ali to jump in whenever he wants to because he came on kind of late. But go ahead, Josh. Oh, you talk about this fiery voice guy with the sovereign citizen nonsense?
Yeah. I just shared. You know, it's a lot. I mean, like I said, we coming into this to these conversations with, you know, the knowledge that we have. I ain't knocking them for it. I just shared a link. All I would just ask the brother to do is, like, you know, this brother Naheem did a show on debunking all that stuff and telling you where all this came from.
Debunked that stuff years ago.
All I'm saying is before you don't want to just go down this road. Just go ahead and just watch the video. And then if you want to come back and dispute the points, go ahead. But we're not wasting no time on that stuff because that stuff is irrelevant.
Yeah, look at him. He's saying totally separate from the system. Have you done that, brother? Have
No.
you totally separated from the system?
No.
Why are you suggesting people do things that you have not done? I've counted the votes. I've voted. So when you say your vote don't count, that lets me know you ain't never been a part of no political process. You've never been a ballot counter. You've never been a poll watcher. You never. I've counted the votes, so I know that I've taken the ballot box and turned it into the election office. I know what's going on because I made it my business to know. So you sitting around listening to all of this foolishness. So, voting don't count. We shouldn't do that. We need to separate. And you've done absolutely nothing. You haven't counted the votes to make sure. Be responsible. Be accountable. Hold people accountable.
Yo, wait, hold on, right? You just told people to go be the precinct committeeman, right? So, yeah, brother, why don't you do that? Brother Fiery Voice, we know that's not your real name, but why don't you go make sure that the votes are being counted?
That's exactly. Make it your business to be there. That's what we always want to take the easy route. Let's just quit. How about you make it your business to be there and start fighting harder? How about you do that?
Yeah, that's why we said it's called be the power. You can't be the power if you separate, because if you separated, you unplugged, right? So you can't be no power then. You unplugged from the power. We're not saying fight the power and separate from the power. We said be the power, become the power, so we can say we the power. You know, that's how you're not, it's no.
I see it.
And also, when you're unplugging, when you're separating, what you're doing is you're disconnecting from the collective. You know what I mean? You're not, there's no collective action in separation like that. And because understand this, separate and go where and do what? With what wealth? We don't have no wealth. So that's what we're talking about. This whole thing is a push for reparations so we can get it. We're not begging no colonies. We're demanding that our justice claim be addressed.
It's just another cop out.
We don't have economic power to do it. I don't care what Claude Anderson said. Well, we need to get economic power. We need to buy politicians. With what wealth?
That's right.
What you have is people power. So if they're spending billions of dollars, how much did they say Bloomberg spent in the primaries?
A small fortune. Put it like that.
I think it was 30 million for a judge.
Yeah,
something crazy.
500 million for just 6 months or 5 months.
Oh, yeah, you're talking about Bloomberg. Yeah, just for that, just to get in there and get some name recognition. He just threw millions at the race.
They're not spending whole annual budgets of whole countries and stuff on a few months election if it ain't gonna influence us. See, but you know what negated his 500 million? ADOS negated whether people want to admit it or not.
Excellent point. Excellent point.
Going hard, that negated $500 million.
Yo, people power can overcome that money if they focus.
Kamala Harris and all that people power. So that's what we talking about. Be the power, and we just getting started. So we don't need you to separate. We need you to connect. We need you to go in. We need you to keep your voice fiery with our message, and we need you to get involved in the process politically. My bad, Ali. Go ahead.
Nah, I was just adding to what you were saying about people power. That's a great example of how people power can overcome money if you have enough people focused and active. You know, that's important. That's an important point. I'm over here. I'm sorry, man. I'm over here just sharing it to all of these different groups. You know what I mean? I'm like in a lot of groups, so I'm sharing the link. Definitely, just trying to see what people are going to say. You know?
Yeah, I'm not going at you, Fire. What you're saying is what a lot of people say. A lot of people have that mindset, and we're trying to tell you that how long are we gonna have that mindset? How long are we gonna follow formulas that don't work, never had a chance of working? We do have a formula that it has been working. It has been getting progress. How long have we been demanding reparations since the 1800s?
And I would just want to know people like
came to the national conversation since the 1968.
absolutely. And people like Fiery Voice, like, what's your program? We always hear a lot of rhetoric, right? Like, what is your program? Like, it just say stuff like start with small things like growing your own food. Where? Grow it where? If you don't own any land, where are you growing the food at?
Like, I don't know about that on the screen. I might
what like we be talking about these
what did he say? What did he say?
Fanciful things. He said we need to start small, like grow our own food, brother. Like, do you think if we had our own, we would do that, right? And we've done that in the past. We have had land that was stolen from us. Go research how Black farmers had millions of acres of land stolen from them. We did that. You understand? So it's not about starting small. It's about getting the government to do for us what it's done for everyone else, and to get access to full citizenship, to make the 14th Amendment something real, which is equal protection, by the law, enforce and put pressure on the government to actually do what it's supposed to do, because government picks and chooses the winners. And as long as we are complacent and disillusioned with the whole political thing, thinking that we're not American, thinking that we shouldn't get involved.
Basically, the comment that's on the screen is what he's saying.
Yeah, as long as we're thinking like that, that's what is going to keep us where we're at. We see every time advancements have been made for our group in this country, it's been through political action. We need to stay the course and continue on.
Peace, my man. Frederick, hey, peace, man. Glad you made it to the stream. Yeah, this is another thing I wanted to say too. Some people may take this, and I started to say it, but I didn't complete my thought. Some people think that this will cause this, like we have to have some type of reactionary thinking. Oh, Obama, Democrats, okay, Trump. Like, I don't want to hear nobody say nothing about Trump. If we're getting on Democrats about not giving us a black agenda, no vote, Trump already said that he ain't doing none of that. Republican Mitch McConnell said he ain't doing none of that. Of course we're not talking. Of course we're not promoting Trump. Of course we're not promoting. We have zero leverage with Trump. His Congress. Look what he's doing since he's in office, right? A lot of people say, "Well, Trump is doing more for black folks." No, he's not. Look at his budgets. You can look at the budget and tell his intention. Number one. Number two, look at his Congress. His Congress is. Do y'all know? What did we just talk about today with this is not even Congress, but this is just Republicans in Georgia. Brian Kemp just said, we canceling the vote on the Supreme Court. And I'm just going to nominate the person myself.
My man Kemp just canceled the election for the Supreme Court nominee and just said, I'm going to just nominate him myself. I forget the...
You know what I'm saying? Like, this is how savage they are.
These dudes is savage, but I'm going to be honest. Let me get in that position. I might do some of that too. But
and look, like, this is how wild it is, right? So Kemp does that right at, and this is how important state politics are, and how we can't afford to fall asleep at the wheel or slow up at all, and we can't afford to not be registered to vote and keep flooding and make it harder for him to do this. Because when he was Secretary of State, this man suppressed and outright destroyed over 100,000 votes as Secretary of State. Then he turns around, next election cycle, become the governor. We are letting the states go crazy. And until we get the states under control, we can forget about the White House.
Facts. Ali, I'm going to pull your screen up. Let me get this dude up out of here.
Greasy. The thing I wanted to share was for him.
Well, he could see it. He just can't comment no more.
All right. Yeah, he's a joker, right? So, look, this is a article from PBS.org, right? Talking about how African Americans lost millions of acres of farmland across the South during the last century, in a trend propelled by economic forces, racism, and white economic and political power. Most of the losses occurred since the 1950s. What is he talking about?
Basically.
They talk about that do for self stuff, like because if I have a garden in my backyard, that is going to like change or produce some type of self sufficiency. That's not how this works. I'm a tax-paying citizen, right? And like it does it. I'm so confused when people like they respond to this message this way. We pay the same amount of taxes as every other citizen in this country. We need the same amount of representation, and we need to be providing and putting that pressure on the government until we get it. In the store, you don't get to stop doing that. You pass that fight down to your kids and they pass it to their kids. You don't get to stop doing that, right?
Fact.
You continue that. That's called legacy. That's what we do.
Fact.
This type of grow, guess what? I have all kind of stuff in my backyard right now. I got squash and okra and tomatoes and stuff. That ain't gonna do nothing. That ain't gonna even feed everybody in my family. You understand? That ain't gonna feed everybody in the house. That's good to have. So what are we talking about?
A couple side dishes.
Yeah, but personal, individual progress does not change systemic problems. Y'all got to understand that we're talking about group uplift on this show. When we talk about be the power, we're not talking about us individually. We're talking about us as a collective. We talk about group uplift. We have to understand if you are connected to a history of chattel slavery, group uplift is the only way. That's what we do around here. That do for self. No one came here and did for self. Everyone did group uplift. The Italians did group uplift. The Jews did group uplift. The Irish did group uplift. The Protestants, the English, the Dutch, the Polish, the Hispanics, they're doing group uplift. No one's telling them do for self.
But they had the government giving them, like Martin Luther King Jr. said, granting them millions in grants and farmland. Let me real quick. I want to come back to Obama before we move on. We're gonna close it out in a little while. And what happened, Josh?
No, I was looking for. I wanted to just point out a couple things. I was trying to find a place about when Obama said, talking about basically you don't need to vote on, worry about your interests. You need to worry about. Can we bring that back up? I can't find where that part is.
From the commencement speech.
Yeah.
All right, hold on.
Give me your thing. I'm gonna come back to.
All right, yeah. Let me go through this real quick. I just want to run through this real quick. This is a New York Times article. Why does Obama scold black boys? Mm-hmm. This was published in February 23rd, 2019. There's another article that was published in between, I want to say 2013 and 2014 about the same exact thing. So this is why does Obama scold black boys? So let's read this real quick. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I'm going to just get right into what Obama says. If you are really confident about your financial situation, Mr. Obama told the crowd, you are probably not going to be wearing an 8-pound chain around your neck. Because he continued, oh, I got a bank account. I don't have to show you how much I got. I feel good. And the writer of this piece says, his comments disappointed me because they're part of problematic practices like calling out black children for having ghetto names like mine or wearing Air Jordans. Such remarks by Mr. Obama reflect his administration's failure and to an extent that of my brother's keeper to tackle the systemic inequality that shapes black lives in America. I went to Harvard Law School decades after Mr. Obama and his wife, Michelle, graduated. When I was there in 2014, nobody wore thick gold chains to show off their wealth. They wore thin ones to match their David Yurman bracelets. Canada Goose Down jackets may as well have been a part of the uniform during Boston winters. Students summered, took gap years, and graduated from Sidwell. Harvard was the first place I saw a Rolex in my life. I wonder if it was the same model as the $15,000 Rolex that Mr. Obama wears in the Kehinde Wale painting of him in the National Portrait Gallery. You see, these people are elitists, fam. And when people get money, they then start to point their fingers down at everybody else, particularly when they don't come from this lineage that's ADOS. And so that's why I wanted to bring that up. There's another article in 2013. Whenever Barack Obama gets up in front of our people, he starts his finger wagging. This is what Michelle Obama just did, and she got called out for it. She got called out for it in her book. There was an article that was published talking about how she so loved George W. Bush, but then she went at Reverend Wright, basically saying that his fight for civil rights for our people was old and outdated. This intersectionality that these people that look like us, the Angela Rye's, the Joy Reeves. Remember, Angela Rye said, I don't see poor. All of my friends are wealthy. Are you absolutely kidding me? Where do you come from? What bubble do you live in that you could bring or fix your mouth to say, I don't see this wealth gap that you all are experiencing and talking about because all of my friends are wealthy? Wow. And this is what we're fighting against, people. Barack Obama is the personification of that. Yeah, go ahead, Brother Josh.
Yeah, I found it, and I wanted to just say, like, if you're part of our immigrant family out here, whether you're Black immigrants or whatever immigrant you are, I would just say, I don't want you to follow Obama's instructions on that. I don't want, because let's be honest, let's be clear. Like, he basically is saying that we should stop advocating I'm talking about ADOS Black folks. We should stop advocating for our interests, and we should just fold our claims and our interests and everything into the class-based or argument, or even the Democratic electorate with the Democratic establishment agenda for the party. We should stop asking for a specific address. And I want you to just not do that. I don't want you to listen to, I want you to do the complete opposite of that. Like, I want you to start fighting for us. Like, when you since you're here and we're friends, family, like we be an ally. I'm calling on you to be an ally. I'm calling on you to be an ally. So when we are advocating for us, when we pick up, like Yvette said, we pick up a chair, you pick up a chair. Like, when we saying we need that, like, yeah, they need that. That's what we need you to do. Like, and understand, like, if our agendas get addressed, conditions for you going to get better. You know, it's going to get better because, you know, we're not locking everybody else out of opportunity. You know, we're self-industry, yeah, because we're at the bottom. But I don't think it's good for the immigrant population, our black immigrant family. I don't think it's good for the long-term outlook of dismantling whiteness if you're just perpetuating the bottom caste as the ADOS. You know, if you're just going along with the program that keeps us at the bottom. Like, so that's kind of what I wanted to say, because what Obama said here, I got it up, but I'll share it. But it's just problematic. What he says here, you know, no one does things by themselves. Build a community. No one does things by themselves right now. People are scared. It's easy to be cynical. My bad. Let me go on my Obama voice. It's easy to be cynical. Say, let me just look out for myself or my family or people who look or think or pray like me. But if we're going to get through these difficult times, if we're going to create a world where everybody has the opportunity to find a job and whatever, look, we don't, you know, leave all behind the old ways of thinking that divide us, sexism, racial prejudice. Yeah, of course, that sounds good. But what you're saying in that is he's addressed us before. So if y'all have been a part of this discussion, he's addressed us directly before. He's taken his shots at us before because he's seen the havoc that we've created with their agenda. So we see it again. We understand. He's trying to be a little bit more veiled with his shots, but we get it, understand it. What we're saying and what I'm saying is, nah, stand with us. Don't fold into the Democratic Party agenda, because that's not going to work out good for you in the end anyway. So that's all I want to say.
Definitely.
I got another comment I want to read to y'all.
All right, go ahead, Ali, and go in a little bit as well, and then we're gonna come to you, where L, and then we're gonna close it out.
Well, it's a chick named Autumn Cash. She's probably an immigrant. But anyway, she says about the link, because she sees the link. She says, black on black crime. Black men never seem not to get. They will attack God given a chance. This is the reason why blacks have difficulties because black men are always saying something stupid.
So go in on that, Ali.
Well, here's the thing. I asked her, did she want to come on about this black on black crime?
Right, so you inviting them to the smoke. We'll send out some links for the smoke. I had a brother that wanted to come on and build with us, real sharp brother, but it was kind of packed. We definitely gonna bring that brother on another show. He followed the ADOS movement as well. But if you want that smoke, we might even extend the show for a couple minutes. We didn't let you come get that smoke real quick.
Yeah, she ain't responding.
So what do you think of her comment that, this is black on black crime, that will attack God? I guess if we found out he was black too, huh? So
I think that I told her, I said that's a white supremacist talking point. What I would love to do is hit her with those statistics that we pulled up.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Show that we did on that. She missed that show.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, she missed that show. But I would love to hit her with that and let her come on and school us about how black on black crime is really the problem.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I'm just waiting to see what she's gonna say. She's not gonna accept that invite. I know that. She ain't gonna accept it.
Yeah.
Look like she's typing something right now, so we'll see. Let's see what she say. People are funny, man.
Yeah, man. It's a shame, man. But it's necessary. What this work we're doing is necessary. This is that's a great example on why this work that we're doing is so necessary. And we just need more people to pick up that plow and get to work. Pick up that hammer and that chisel and start chipping away at that ignorance. And you have to be willing to put yourself into uncomfortable spaces and mental spaces. Like the way we think about things just has to change. I know it hurt a lot of people's feelings to hear us talk like that about Obama, because he symbolized so much. But no, we need realism. Fantasy is what people want, but reality is what we need. You understand? We giving it to you in the raw. We're not playing no games. We all about data. We all about facts. We all about showing and proving. And we all about action, getting to action. We're not here about tropes. We're not here about a fantasy land and illusions. We're doing the work and very serious about this thing. So we just gotta understand, as a group, understand our wealth and our numbers, and understand how we need to use them. Understand that we cannot continue to fall for the same tricks, and we can't keep falling for Obamas who aren't even us and they pretending to be us. We can't do that. We have to value our history, value our legacy, and honor the memory and the suffering of our ancestors and everything they did to build this country, and don't abandon that fight. Let's just keep up the fight and pass that baton when it's time to pass it. That's what I got to say.
Yeah, Ali.
So, sorry. So the dude said the premise is flawed. No thanks. He doesn't want to come on.
Oh, the flawed premise of us going in on Obama. Oh, that's a flawed premise.
I said, yo, come on and school us. We live.
Not everybody wants to face that Santa Claus is not real.
Right.
People don't want you to tell their kids that Santa Claus ain't real. That's essentially what it. Like, I think if people get triggered by the title of this show, they the main ones that need to be watching.
That's right.
You got to watch them. Those are the type of people that want black folks to, and just like a lot of these other groups, so they want us to be the eternal beast of burden and just eat the failure of every group, so that no other group has to fail collectively. We already got a group for that. ADOS will just eat the failure of every group, and then everybody else as a group can come up. As long as we have ADOS here, they can eat the failure of everyone else, and everyone else can rise as a group. We're done with that. That's over.
That's right. That's a wrap. No
Image,
more of
I
that.
want to bring this image up real quick because I think this image right here. Oh man, what is? I think this image right here is very telling of. I think some people who, because you notice a lot of people who share this sentiment, they may be from this position right here. They may be in this decile, right? Because they're okay to live in the fantasy world of the black excellence and black decadence and black accomplishment and achievement, and they don't want you to mess up their moment. They don't want you to don't kill my vibe, don't blow my high over here, But most of us that's willing to embrace the reality, we're over here. We're over here. But we understand that, and this is not only are we over here, even if individually we may not be over here, most of our people, most of our family is over here. And we know why. And so we don't have the luxury of trafficking in the fantasy of what he represents over here. And just because what we represent is not no fake excellence and decadence and all of this kind of opulence. Nah, that ain't what we advocating for. And what do we look like advocating for that when we ain't got the piece of the pie? When we dying from COVID-19 at double and triple rates, I remember it was one point, I don't know if it's still true, it was like all the black folks in St. Louis, all of the people who died in St. Louis got COVID. All of the black folks who had COVID, all of the COVID victims, the people that died was black folks. That's what it says. Excuse me. So it doesn't make sense for us to be unwilling to try to be realistic about what he represented and what he perpetrated when we're in that position. If we had 90% of the wealth or 35% of the wealth or something like that as a 13% group, then yeah, we could do that. But we got less than 3% of the wealth. We can't do that. We got to be real. We don't have no time for playing games and playing fantasy land and the tooth fairy and all this kind of stuff. Go ahead, John.
Definitely. Ali, did you want to add something else, brother?
Nah, I'm good. I'm just talking with these jokers in this group. They scared to come on, so they just talking on the on the wall or whatever. Talking. This guy, he said he'd rather not give us any oxygen. He said he's half tempted to delete this crap and let us rant about Obama on some right-wing blog.
So yeah, we're gonna get painted as right-wing, although we're not Republicans at all. We don't support Trump. We don't support MAGA. We don't support any of right-wing anything. That's what destroyed us. The right wing in this nation is largely responsible for destroying us. The left wing in this nation are the ones that kind of just helped maintain that destruction. And just along the way, they gave us breadcrumbs here and there. Malcolm X said it was akin to stabbing me in the back with a 9-inch knife, pulling out 3 inches of that knife or 6 inches and saying that we made progress. So we're neither right nor left to that guy that's hopefully he's listening. So what I want to do is before we close it out, because I kind of want to keep this on Obama, right? And I want to go to this article on just real quick. I want to run through this and then we'll do some closing statements because we still got some people listening and that's good. Okay, this is from an article from Jacobin. I think I'm saying that correctly. Jacobin, and it's titled How Obama Destroyed Black Wealth. Obviously, I'm not going to read this whole thing, but I'm going to stop at this point where he's talking about this precipitous drop in wealth, which basically started in the Bush administration. So it says, this drop hit the housing wealth of African Americans particularly hard. Outside of home equity, Black wealth recovered its 2007 level by 2016, but average Black home equity was still $16,700 lower. Okay, the next portion of this article comes up, a program designed to fail. I'm not going to read that, but I'm going to just go to the very end of it. It says, no, excuse me, letting off the crooks is the article. I want to read the very end of it. It says, unsurprisingly, bending over backwards for the banks failed to stop the wave of foreclosures sweeping the nation. All told, some 9.3 million homeowners lost their homes. It was the greatest destruction of middle-class wealth since the Great Depression, at least. Remember, I started this show off talking about how Barack Obama, instead of bailing out, not particularly our people, but America in general, he focused all of his energy on the banks. He's what the ultra-liberal left calls the progressive Democrats call a corporate Democrat. But under this part where it says Black wealth destroyed, it says even before the crash, decades of discriminatory policies had depressed African Americans' housing wealth. Remember what I said earlier. Our wealth, and what my brother John said, our wealth is tied up in our home ownership and in that equity. But watch what this article says. It says, New Deal federal housing subsidies, the bedrock of the post-war middle class, largely locked out African Americans. Racist housing covenants forbade neighborhoods from selling or renting to Black families, back up by the threat of riot. I don't know if that's a typo. Racist housing covenants forbade neighborhoods from selling or renting to Black families, back up by the threat of riot. I don't know if that's supposed to say backed up. It says Black families that could buy were often brutally exploited by contract sellers. The mortgage bubble fostered similar abuses. Now he's talking about when they start on the Bush era with their subprime loans. The mortgage bubble fostered similar abuses. Originators looking for anyone to take subprime mortgages handed them out to disproportionately Black lower class people and steered Black middle class families who would have qualified for ordinary mortgages into subprime loans as well. For anybody that doesn't know what a subprime loan is, look it up. It's basically giving you a loan that's structured for people with the high credit score, but they're giving it to you although you don't have a good credit score. You don't have the history to even show that you could keep up with a loan in the first place. That's why he differentiates between ordinary mortgages and subprime. So it continues. Former Wells Fargo employees later testified that the bank deliberately tricked middle-class Black families, who they called quote-unquote mud people, to subprime quote-unquote ghetto loans. This is what they were saying. Let's give these mud people these ghetto loans.
That's what I was talking about earlier when we were on the phone. Remember, I was saying I wanted to look up. It was a terminology that they were using to refer to us and the type of loans they were giving us. Brigade. That's right.
Overall, a Center for Responsible Lending study found that from 2004 to 2008, 6.2% of white. Now remember, 2008 is where we get into the Obama years, right?
Right.
Okay, so 2004 to 2008, 6.2% of white borrowers with a credit score of 660 and up got subprime mortgages, while 19.3% of such Latino borrowers and 21.4% of Black borrowers did. So we see during the Bush era, they specifically targeted us. They were racist with it after boxing us out of these loans because the banks are they're just trying to make more money at the end of the day. So the article continues. The effects of the foreclosure disaster are starkly apparent in a survey of Consumer Finances data. To start, the home ownership national rate shows a market decline over almost the whole Obama presidency, reaching the lowest rate since 1965 before slightly rebounding. And they show a chart that goes from 1990, where it was at 64%. It peaks at around 2004 at 69%, and then it starts its decline. Obama comes in 2008. We see what happens in 2010. At 2010, when you juxtapose that with other charts dealing with median black wealth in the United States of America, our wealth as a people begins a steady decline. So we scroll down, broken down by race. The overall story for home ownership is similar for all groups, but black homeowners started lower and stayed lower than white ones with no rebound at all from 2013 to 2016. Again, this is Obama's failure. Let's look at this chart here, people. The white people are represented by the yellow line. They pretty much were the same. The black line is represented by the neon green, and the Latino line is the dark green. How is it at any point that we could ever or should have ever dipped below any other group when we've been here just as long as the European American, whom is called the white man today? These numbers reflect the failure of Obama's presidency. Hence the title of this particular article, that Barack Obama, he destroyed black wealth. He destroyed it. And it goes on and it gives a whole bunch of numbers. Matter of fact, let's get into this one. Is this the one that I wanted to get? Okay. However, the total home ownership rate can be misleading in that it includes people with negative equity. Look that up because it was too much for me to memorize and trying to put the show together, because some of this stuff I'll memorize it and just flow off the top of the head. I can't remember what it means at the moment. Look up negative equity so you can understand this in context with what I'm reading, which is worse, the article continues, than owning no home at all. It is merely a rental with debt.
I mean, you underwater. That means
that's right. That's exactly what it means. These are underwater homes, a rental with debt. They're not necessarily your home ownership. This thing is just crazy. Again, they give the numbers and they're breaking this thing down. The percentage of home owners with negative equity by race. Again, you look at that black line, which is the neon green line, and it's at the top of everybody. We're always at the worst in this nation. We're either at the bottom of the wealth economically or at the top of things that negatively affect the country as a whole. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. We've proved our point tonight that Barack Obama is not what we think that he is. This man is, this man has been horrible for our people. And it's time for us to get real. It's time for us to look at Joe Biden, who is an extension of Barack Obama. He's going to come in and do the same thing. You think he's going to fix the police brutality? Under Barack Obama, we had so much police brutality. And when we protested, this dude called us a thug. He called
he signed the act with the Blue Lives Matter.
He signed the act for the police. I believe Congress, this went through the House and the Senate, if I'm not mistaken, and Obama signed it. He signed nothing to protect us while the police were out there killing us with impunity. Are you kidding me? Mm-hmm. This man is not who we think that he is, family. We have to stop being tricked by this form of politics because it just doesn't make any sense at all. I'm a close out, but I'm gonna let my brothers close out. Again, don't just fight the power, become the power, and then you will have the power to make a change. Because if I'm president, I'm doing what Trump did. We're not gonna just not hire quote unquote black qualified justices to appease racist white Republicans. No, we're going to get people who have been trying to get their voices heard for the longest in those seats that wanted to do justice for our people in those seats. We're going to have a HUD secretary that's going to make sure that those old Jim Crow housing policies get abolished. We're going to have a education secretary that makes sure that our schools get the budget that we need. We're going to police the police. Remember, Jeff Sessions came in and said that, oh, we're not going to police the police. Oh, no, we're going to police the police. No more toasted, almond toasted covered white men coming in like Eric Holder. Like, we just got to call these people what they are. Went into Ferguson for what? What did you do that for? To throw us a bone? To say that, oh, I'm going to do this? Just to come out and say, oh, you know, we found nothing that we could do. Are you kidding me? The federal government could have done a lot. See, when we get the power, family, when we get the power, this is why they fear us. This is why they fear us. This is why they're trying to replace us. The actors in Hollywood are not us.
Right.
The movie Us is a reflection of that fact that Lupita Nyong'o is Kenyan Mexican. Winston Duke is, I think, from Tobago. Like, these are not us, but they take on the accent of ADOS people, those of us who descend from the institution of American slavery, those of us who have blood and bones buried in this land, those of us who are literally just sanguinis and just Soleil.
That's right.
They're replacing us, family.
Yeah.
They're replacing us. But we here, and we're not going to let that happen. So I'm going to let my brother Josh go in, and then brother Ali Bey, I want you to close us out.
I just want to say, we don't have to, like, part of becoming the power is other people lose the power of controlling you and controlling your mind and being able to manipulate you with social engineering. We always had a phrase, knowledge is power. Well, we're dropping the knowledge of how to view and how to have the proper framing or reframing of a story that has conned us. That's what we're doing. So, somebody asked in the chat, well, what are you doing for Black people? We're doing this right here. If you don't been conned, somebody is doing you a favor and doing something for your positive uplift if they reveal the con on you so that you can prevent the con from continuing to be run on. Because it's no reason that this man should be an authority in influencing what we do with our vote, what we do with our advocacy. He should not be the vocal. How does that work when we ask you for something? We make you. You use our story to paint yourself and to cloak yourself. We make you by showing up in record numbers and put you in office. We ask you. Matter of fact, we don't even really ask you. That's the problem. We don't even really ask you for an agenda. But when somebody, brings up, hey, are you going to do something for them? Basically, hell no, I'm not doing nothing for them. And then when we get out, we say, you know what? That didn't work out well for us. We moving on from him. Then we need to do our own thing. And then you turn around and tell them, well, no, Negroes, y'all need to mule for everybody else's agenda. Don't try to fight for your own. By what right do you have that? As Yvette Carnell says, by what right do you get to say that? So I just want to say part of being the power is to stop letting other people that you give your power to. You give them the ability to control how you think, how you act, and even your emotions. You allow just your emotions to get wrapped up in a fantasy. And then they're able to pull those strings on you. And when they pull those strings, you pull on a puppet to pull his arm up. His arm will do like this. That's just what happens. So cut them strings. Don't let this man have the power over you. So that's what we're doing for our people on this show. And if you understand this message, you're gonna, I mean, it may not be the easiest job, but get in those conversations and give people the proper perspective so this thing can spread and we won't be able to be puppeteered by a white supremacy cloaked in something else any longer.
Definitely. I'm gonna pull your screen up, Ali. I'm gonna let you close us out.
All right. Okay, so this is an article. Let me know if it's big enough. Can you see it? All right. So this is an article from CNN, Obama, Baltimore, regarding the Baltimore protests, right? So what happened in Baltimore was Freddie Gray was killed by some criminals calling themselves police officers. Black people having to deal with police abuse of power for years in our communities rose up and started to protest, and some of the protests turned violent. So this is what this article says about Barack Obama and his comments, because he called the black people there thugs and criminals, not the police who Marilyn Mosby winds up finding out were a bunch of criminals that she wanted to try to prosecute.
That's right.
But he wants to try to turn it on the victims and make them the criminals, right? So this is what it says in the article. The sustained outbreak of violence followed the funeral for Freddie Gray, the 25-year-old man who died after he was arrested more than 2 weeks ago. And remember, he didn't just die. They broke that dude in half. I don't know if y'all remember, man. They broke his spine and everything.
That's right.
Cars were set on fire, stores were destroyed, and 6 officers were seriously injured. It was the first time Obama has commented on the turmoil in Baltimore that has followed Gray's death. This is what they're quoting him as saying. There's no excuse for the kind of violence that we saw yesterday. It was counterproductive, Obama said at a press conference from the White House. When individuals get crowbars and start prying open doors to loot, that's not all they were doing. And mind you, you're talking about a poor people, an oppressed people, trying to get things that they actually need. Oftentimes, that's what it is. They're not protesting. This is what he says. They're not protesting. They're making a statement. They're stealing. When they burn down a building, they're committing arson, and they're destroying and undermining businesses and opportunities in their communities. That robs job and opportunity from people in that area. Those people don't hire us like that. All of them immigrants that own them stores in our communities don't be hiring us. What the hell is he talking about? This is how you know he's disconnected from the realities of our communities. We were just talking about it earlier. The Jamaican restaurants in our communities. They're black people, but every Jamaican restaurant in New York City that I've ever been in, or in New Jersey that I've ever been in, has Jamaican people working in them. Not ADOS, not African Americans, Jamaicans, right? And so that's the case when you go into Floriditas, the Spanish restaurant that you'll see around the city. It's the same. The Colombia, Noches de Colombia, these restaurants are all over New Jersey. They're Colombian people working in those restaurants. So I don't know what he's talking about in terms of job opportunities for us in our communities. He's bugging out. The growing violence in Baltimore, just 40 miles from the White House, represents another challenge for the Obama administration in addressing racial unrest across the country. Since the police killing of an unarmed teenager in Ferguson, Missouri last summer, the administration has worked to acknowledge deep frustrations in minority communities while supporting law enforcement. Here we go. See? Supporting law enforcement. So at the end of the day, this dude did nothing about any of the stuff that took place in Baltimore. The only thing he did was call the people criminals and thugs. And when he got pushback about it, he doubled down on it. They're criminals and thugs. Did not address those police and what they did at all. Neither did his attorney general. So if these people want to sit around talking about our premise is off base, there's so many things that we can point to show and prove that this man didn't have our best interests at heart. And he would always try to toe the line to make sure that white people were comfortable with his presidency. Even though they called him monkey and called his wife monkey and put up effigies of him being hanged and all, to this day, they still putting up things about him being hanged.
That's right.
He's worrying about their goddamn feelings. This man is bugged out, and the people that are so emotional over him being the first black president, like these people are telling me in this chat group, he needs to be celebrated because he's the first black president. He's not black. He's Kenyan and half white, and he's an American citizen, but he's not black, because when we talk about black, we're talking about our people who came from chattel slavery through Jim Crow. He's not attached to that at all, and that's why he doesn't have any kind of remorse in terms of our particular plight in this country, because he's not attached to it. Has nothing to do with it. Only thing he shares with us is melanin. Period. That's it. So they can sit around and act like, you know, that he's the best thing since sliced bread. But I guarantee you, if any of them get the balls to come on the show, they ain't gonna be able to show and prove what he did to 5 people.
We sending out links, family. If you want, if anybody comment, wait, real quick. If anybody comment, whether on YouTube or Facebook on this video, because they disagree with the title, because most of them just disagreeing with the title. They're not listening to anything. We'll send a link, and we'll do a special show. Let me do an announcement real quick. I'm gonna be interviewing Sister Dana Marniche tomorrow on Sanetta's channel. That's gonna be a powerful discussion dealing with the true ethno-history of the Arabians and the Canaanites, and we're gonna get into a lot of that Moorish history as well. That's Sister Dana Marniche, one of the foremost scholars, if not the foremost ethno-historian. She wrote the chapter on the ethno-history of the Arabs and the Moors in the book, Ivan Van Sertima's book, The Golden Age of the Moor. Thursday, we're going to do a show on MLK versus Elijah Muhammad. Y'all, that one going to spark some controversy, in honor of Malcolm. Huh?
Versus.
I didn't hear you.
I said versus.
Oh, yeah, we doing a versus battle. MLK, we doing our own version of the versus battle. MLK versus Elijah Muhammad, but we're going to frame it in a political sense, right? Because we could make the argument, and rightfully so, that Elijah Muhammad helped clean up a lot of our people. But at the end of the day, there's some issues that need to be pointed out, and we're just going to point them out, point blank, period.
We got some documents that y'all might not know about out there.
Fact.
We got some stuff.
Fact. So, I mean, we're going to close it out. We've been on for a nice little minute. Our little bit of numbers that we do have every show, they going up more and more every show. So I just want to thank everybody for listening in. If you're suffering from the COVID, or if you have family members, if you lost someone, I send my condolences. I send my get wells. Try to do your best to strengthen your immune system. Follow the CDC's and the health officials' guidelines. Don't watch that stupid documentary, Plandemic. I'm gonna always dig at that nonsense. And that's gonna be it, and that's that. So with that, I say peace.
Peace.
Like, subscribe, share.
Yeah, link. Share. Hit the like button. I always forget to say that. Hit the like. I gotta start saying that at the beginning of the show. Hit the like button. Subscribe. When you subscribe, hit that little bell icon next to it. It ain't gonna hurt you to do that. Keep up with what's going on the channel, and we're just gonna keep striving to bring you good content. We're not know-it-alls. We're trying to figure it out like the rest of us. We got some great teachers in the political space, because we listen to the people that know more than us in this space, like Yvette Carnell and Brother Antonio Moore, and others who may not necessarily be in this space. We know how to use our seed, as Father Allah, who founded the 5%ers, used to say, eat the meat and spit out the bones. So with that, stay tuned. We got more heat coming. Anybody ever want to debate, we got the link for you. Come through. We'll give you 5 minutes. Quick 5 minutes. All right, family. Peace.
All right, peace, bro.